Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome to the Parks and Community Services Commission regular meeting of January 11, 2024. We're going to call the meeting to order here at 6 o'clock p.m. And next, I would like to turn it over to Commissioner Wright to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Commissioner Wright. Next, we'll turn it over to Ms. Laura Fatua for the roll call.
Great. Commissioner Brown,
Present.
Commissioner Glab,
Here.
Commissioner Garcia Arcos, Commissioner Wall,
Here.
Commissioner Wright,
Here.
Vice Chair Dorn Parker,
Here.
Chair Rutherford.
Here.
We have quorum.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Fatua. That brings us to public comments for any matters that are not listed on the agenda. So if there's any public comments, now would be the time. Are there any public commenters on Zoom?
Yes, I have Hank Castanetti. Hank, you may now speak.
Good evening, Hank.
Hi, good evening, commissioners, and a happy new year to you too. I just wanted to announce on behalf of the Orange County Model Engineers that in December, during our North Pole event with Santa Claus, Santa and Mrs. Claus, we gave 4,116 rides in 2 days, which pushed our annual total of ridership over 40,000 for 2023. I'd like to point out too that of all those folks that took advantage of seeing and appreciating the park, none of them actually set foot in the habitat. They just rode by and saw everything go by on the train. So once again, we'd like to thank the Costa Mesa Police Explorers for all their assistance in December. They handled all the parking for us, and this is the first time that we've availed ourselves of their expertise. And we'd like to thank Officer Matt Ritchie and all the explorers for their help. Once again, I hope you folks have a wonderful 2024, and we'll see you in the park. Have a good night.
Thank you, Hank. That was a wonderful addition to the holidays, having Santa and the setup at the OC Model Engineers. So thank you and the OCME team for all you do.
Chair, I see no other hands raised on Zoom. I do have one now.
Awesome.
Matt Garcia. Matt Garcia, you may now speak.
Good evening, Matt.
All right. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. On behalf of Harbor Soaring Society, I would like to wish everyone a happy new year. I'm continuing on as Vice President of HSS and would like to thank the city and all the support we've received from the community for the second half of the year of 2023. We were able to resume flying at Fairview Park, and it's been very successful. I know we've had a lot of visitors from the city and city council, and we would like to extend the invite to everyone on the PAX Commission to come out and visit us if you haven't on one of the flight days, first or third Saturdays of the month. We are working to put together a 2023 recap, which we will be sharing with you later this month for all the outreach and activities we participated in with the community last year. So happy new year. Looking forward to 2024. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Matt.
There are no other members on Zoom who have their
Okay,
hands raised.
that sounds great. So we will go ahead and close public comments, and bring it back for commissioner comments and suggestions. So just going down the line, we'll go ahead and start in District 1. Happy New Year, Commissioner Glab. Do you have anything to share
No
with us?
comments. Thank you.
Awesome, sounds great. We'll go down to our vice chair, Ms. Doran Parker.
Just wanted to congratulate the city for the Snoopy House. I know there's so many activities, as it was a local Snoopy House for years in my neighborhood, and I'm just very proud the city has taken it up and expanded and taken good care of it. So thank you. I slipped in a couple nights to see what was going on, and it's just amazing. That's pretty much it.
Sounds great. Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Brown.
Good evening. I just want to talk a little bit about Fairview Park, and I know we're going to talk about it later, but I'm going to talk about it in a sort of unrelated way. Just as the liaison to Fairview Park, I'm really excited to see what's happening. At the last meeting, we just are learning about some of the public input that they're getting for the Fairview Park Master Plan. I think it's inspiring. I know that there's talk about getting even more people involved, and so I have a comment about that. But it is really inspiring to see the work happening, so I just wanted to put that out there. And if you haven't had a chance to go to one of those meetings, I encourage you to do so. I do think that there's an opportunity for us to think about, I'm always going to talk about public engagement, but I do think there's an opportunity to think about it, not just for Fairview Park, but for the Open Space Master Plan. And it strikes me that we have an opportunity in the city of Costa Mesa, with all of the youth programming that we do, to think about how can we get the youth of Costa Mesa involved in our parks and in talking about what open space could mean for them, what they would like. They will be sitting up here in 10 or 20 years. So whatever we can do now, as we're working on the Open Space Master Plan, to think about targeting youth in a strategic way, I would support that. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Wall.
Now I got to remember how to work this thing. I don't really have a whole lot of comments other than to acknowledge Police Appreciation Day that took place yesterday. I've gotten to know the chief since he's been here, and he's nothing but just a rock solid human being. And I just think those guys do a great job of looking after this city 24/7, 365. And I just wanted to say that for the record. That's it.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. And then down in District 6, Commissioner Wright.
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. Really happy to be back and completing officially my first year as a commissioner. It's been lovely, and I'm really proud of our parks in this city. I'm excited to hear our 2023 highlights presentation today, because I know there's so much that goes on. How can we even cover it in our meetings now? And I started, and we already knew the CIP projects were coming up, but I'm really looking forward to getting into the fun part, which is design phases, or being able to see like things coming to completion. I also was kind of wondering, I'd love to hear what are our goals for the year, or what do we want to accomplish. I remember hiring was a big theme last year, and just wishing that we had a bigger team to reach more people. And so if that's possibly maybe the main thing we want to focus on this year, anything we can do as commissioners and report back to our city council members, I would love to make that a reality. And then of course, just supporting like a generalist approach to increasing community engagement, I think would be really critical this year. Just a small thing was I saw a bunch of people on Costa Mesa Facebook group bragging about the mobile rec programs that are happening at the parks. And actually I had a mom friend who somehow I forgot to mention them to her, but she found about it through Facebook. And so even if it's like creative ways like that, that hopefully wouldn't require much work from the social media team, or the short-term signage idea of putting up, some yard signs, for example, they kind of look like yard signs at all the parks or facilities that we're improving this year. I think it could get people really excited for what we've been working on for years, probably. So yeah, really excited for another year, and hope that it's going to be a great meeting today. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you, Commissioner Wright. Definitely want to echo that. I'm very excited for the 2023 review, so I'll, kind of save the New Year stuff till then. But I think there's a lot of things PAC's department did right in 2023 that you should celebrate and be proud of, and that we as commissioners are grateful for. So I'm really excited to, kind of look back on 2023 and celebrate the year that the department had. So thank you all. There's just a few things I wanted to mention that I've talked with Alma about over break, but I know that the Harper Park fence and the presence of a park ranger and that whole setup continues to be a concern for residents. I know the cities continue to be working on it, but I just wanted to, surface that issue again, keep that at the forefront. The Harper Park, it hasn't, I don't think, fully reached a resolution. I don't know that that's a fiscally sustainable solution, right? If we had to put a park ranger full-time in all of our parks, that would break our budget as a parks department. So I think, if we can, still work on finding a more, fiscally sustainable long-term solution for Harper Park. And then also we heard from some of our wonderful pickleball players at the Downtown Rec Center about the glare of the sun and the windows. So thank you to Monique and Alma for being responsive to that. And I know you're working on a solution. So I appreciate that. And just wanted to, again, surface that concern. We love our pickleball players in Costa Mesa. Want to make sure that they're accommodated. So just a couple things that we've been working on. And there's a lot of new things coming as well. So, I think that was a big theme of 2023 in the past few years with the new city council, and especially just a historic influx in grant funding for the city. So I'm excited to, continue to be supporting that. And there's going to be great things ahead in 2024. So with that, we'll move on from commissioner comments to old business. We have the minutes from our last meeting. Are there any comments from commissioners on the minutes? Could I get a motion? All right, moved and seconded. Moved by Commissioner Dorn Parker, seconded by Commissioner Wall. We have a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Motion carries 5-6-0, sorry, to approve the minutes from the last meeting of October.
Great. All right, that takes us through old business. Now our first item of new business is a presentation with the latest on Fairview Park. So again, just want to say I think it's a really exciting time for Fairview Park in Costa Mesa. I want to express my gratitude for the City Council, our partners at the state and county level. It's a really historic time for Fairview Park in the city of Costa Mesa with, I think the largest influx in funding in a generation that the city's dedicated towards restoration and preservation efforts in the park. So we're excited to hear how that's been going, Mr. Dalton, and I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Rutherford. Thank you, all commissioners. Looking forward to presenting this item this evening. I know it's been a couple years since I've been the Fairview Park Administrator, and some of the other senior supervisors have had their opportunity to present on their program. So been anxiously awaiting this evening and looking forward to presenting about Fairview Park and all of our amazing programs, projects, and what's to come next. Just a little brief background about myself. I've been with the city for about 8.5 years now. I came from the Public Works Department prior to this. I was in the engineering division for about 6 years and then transitioned over to Parks in late 2021. So thank you again. To go over our division overview, so we're under the Parks and Community Services Department. We're kind of our own unique section in that regard, not a true division, but under my purview, we have one full-time maintenance worker, currently we have 2 part-time support staff. You may see them out at the park. Sometimes they're pulling some non-native plant material. They're interacting with park users, park patrons, and trying to provide some education to them, as well as providing some administrative support. In addition to city staff itself, we have a number of contracted biologists, technicians that work. One of the most actively managed areas is the wetlands in the northwest corner of the park. We have a a small contract with the landscape maintenance crew that comes out about 2 to 3 days a week and works with our maintenance worker. We have a number of consultants, given the breadth of specialty disciplines that are found within Fairview Park. We have archaeologists and cultural resource experts, vernal pool specialists, and things like that. We need to call upon those services for those specific projects. And then we rely extensively on coordination with other departments, including Public Works, police, of course, and fire occasionally for incidents that relate to the fire department. So in terms of our overview of what we have going on at Fairview on a management scale, the park itself contains 208 acres. There's significant biological resources that require preservation and protection. There's 5 distinct habitat zones. We have a constructed water diversion and natural treatment system in the wetlands that was actually built as part of a mitigation agreement with 2 outside entities. There's tribal and cultural resources. It's also an important in point into the Santa Ana River Gateway, a lot of recreational access. We don't have a formal trail system at the moment. That is one of the important new elements of the Fairview Park Master Plan. Currently, we have an inventory of about 7 miles of recreational trails, so it's a rich source for people getting outside, getting access to open space, and a nice escape from the urban environment. We also have a number of community partnerships. As I mentioned, we also have multiple mitigation sites that require ongoing active management activities, and we have education and interpretation. So just to recap very briefly some of the biological resources, at our latest count, we have 220 species of birds. That's pretty remarkable, something that really sets this park apart from most others and from many others in, even in the county. The park is really known for that high biodiversity of bird species. There's other amphibians, mammals, lizards, even some special status butterflies that frequent the park. In total, we have 37 special status meaning rare, endangered, threatened, or sensitive animal and plant species. So just to recap some of the predominant vegetation communities present in the park, there's nearly 40 distinct vegetation communities recognized as of our latest mapping performed as part of the master plan update. Just walk through these very quickly, some of the most recognized vegetation communities and habitat types and what species those support. You have the riparian woodland, of course. We have the grasslands and native flower fields. If you've been to the park recently, you may have seen the northern harrier. He's back for that pair typically winters here, so it's nice to see them returning to the site. The western kingbird, the burrowing owl. We also have coastal sage scrub, cactus scrub, and coyote brush scrub in various sections of the park that supports species including our California gnatcatcher, which is a state and federally listed endangered species. One of the most unique features about the park as well is the vernal pools. This is one of the only vernal pool complexes, actually the only, if you include the Banning Ranch, now Randall Preserve, the pools in that complex. These are the only remaining vernal pools in all of the county. Something really special about this site, one of the many fascinating features of this site. The vernal pool 1, 2, 3, it's kind of one combined pool now. The largest pool you'll see in that lower left image, that's one of the largest pools in all of Southern California. So it has really great significance to biological resources as well as the regulatory agencies that have jurisdiction over the endangered species and protected resources. Here's a few more of those vernal pool species. We're hoping that this year we may get another El Nino year and see the pools fill up. In addition to biological resources, we have 2 recognized cultural resource sites spanning approximately 40 acres. They're on the National Register of Historic Places, and they also are governed by a number of state and federal laws. It is a sacred site for Native American tribes. The archaeological records suggest there is at least 15, records date back to at least 1500 BC, so we have over 3,000 years of occupation at this site, which makes it really special. There's shell midden found throughout the perimeter of the Mesa Loop Trail that you may have seen. the tribes do still visit this site, and then they recognize it as an important sacred site to pay their respects and honor their ancestors. That also lends itself to a lot of opportunity for cultural education and interpretation. There's a few signs out there that have been there for a number of years, but we hope to kind of enhance and revisit those and really tap into that cultural component and share more information about why that's so special about this site. In addition, in the original master plan, the environmental documentation for the site calls for restoration of the pre-contact indigenous vegetation, so that's something we're looking forward to fulfilling in some of these forthcoming projects. In addition to kind of the future projects, there's a number of past projects that have been completed fulfilling restoration with outside entities, such as the mitigation parties mentioned here in the slide. You see that spans over 50 acres of actual restoration completed in the past. We've made significant investments in time, in land, and in financial dollars over the last 30 or so years that the city's really made an investment in this locally owned park in restoration and environmental stewardship. We also have a number of community-based restoration partnerships that we have implemented in the past and we continue to pursue. We have city-sponsored, in-kind funds submitted on behalf of the city towards these restoration projects. And just another point that all these are in fulfillment of the Fairview Park Master Plan. Some of the outside agencies that we work with for regulatory compliance purposes, as well as just for services, and some of them are neighboring agencies, such as the County of Orange, who has OC Parks. They own Talbert Park, as well as the County of Orange also manages the flood control facilities that we rely on for some of that water that supplies the wetland system. That natural treatment system that I mentioned actually pulls water from the Greenville Banning Channel. It requires a lot of kind of active coordination with Orange County Public Works staff, and we also have a number of grant funding agencies, including California State Parks and OCTA. In addition to those intergovernmental, we have nonprofit organizations that support programming, activities, and partnerships within the city at Fairview Park. Going forward to the capital improvement, a few of the highlights on recent activities and what's to come. So one of the important, of course, capital projects and planning activities that we've been working on since early 2023 is the Fairview Park Master Plan update. We've had about 3 meetings so far. There will be a series of additional meetings between now and about July and August to conclude this update process. We look forward to bringing forth an actual dedicated meeting on the master plan update to this commission in the coming month or so, probably in February or March. We've had a really great turnout in some of our past meetings. We had our first workshop in late August, and it drew over 100 participants. We got a lot of feedback, a lot of really interested stakeholders, residents, and community members that had an opportunity to discuss, learn from others, and weigh in about their vision for Fairview Park. In addition to the community outreach component, there's been a lot of biological surveys, historical document that have been reviewed and synthesized, some cultural resource investigations, and we'll be bringing that forth, of course, in more detail in a future meeting to you. A quick update on some of the state-funded capital projects. We're, again, very grateful for the $4.5 million investment from the Senator Minn's office. It's a remarkable achievement, and we're really excited about where that's going to take us in the next several years. So some of the Mesa and Bluff restoration activities, we do have a preliminary design for the first phase of the Mesa restoration project shown in that center exhibit. The first phase is going to be a minimum of about 11 acres of restoration of native grasses, forbs, flower fields, and coastal sage scrub habitat up on the mesa and leading into kind of the canyon adjacent to some of the other restoration areas that we've implemented in the past. This week, we also reached a small milestone, and the geotechnical engineer actually collected some of the soil samples, and we're doing basically examining the soil profile and characterizing the bluff for future restoration and for the stabilization measures that are going to be feasible and possible with the existing soils. In addition to those large grant projects, we have the ongoing projects, the Vernal Pool 567 watershed restoration. That first phase of the project is wrapping up right now. We have fencing, signage, and trails, and as well as educational hubs and signage. So we will be seeing those additional improvements, occasional new signs and interpretive materials coming out over the coming year or so. Some of the restoration takeaways, things that we've learned from past restoration and our undertaking so far, is that restoration is absolutely a long-term endeavor. It doesn't fix itself quickly, but with proper preparation and planning, it can be done successfully in the long term. So we want to make sure we do it right in the first try to save us resources down the road. It certainly requires an interdisciplinary framework, which is what I find really fascinating about this park as a whole. There's so much layered on top of one another, so many unique resources that are all within such a relatively small footprint. And there's so many different stakeholders as well that have an active interest in connection to the park itself. Adaptive management is also a must with restoration. Nature is unpredictable. We have to always adapt and be prepared for changes because we just don't know what nature is going to bring, and sometimes conditions below the surface aren't exactly as they seem on the surface. With successful restoration, the effort peaks early and it lowers significantly over time. It works coherently with site conditions, existing site conditions. It considers impacts not just to one specific species or resource, but at the system scale. And it also builds upon other areas of established habitat to promote more connectivity, which is essential for wildlife to expand their range and to continue to survive. It also focuses on long-term sustainability, ecologically, financially. Some of the challenges and opportunities that we face going forward, the scale of this park is something that's really unique as well. It's 208 acres. That's about 189 full-size football fields. So it's a large amount of land to manage. So it's a lot of maintenance, some of the maintenance activities as well. We have to do surveys prior to even doing routine maintenance. So it can make that management more involved and complicated. There's multiple layers, of course, within the entire park. We also are trying to advance the stewardship while also addressing degradation and things that have happened in the past. There's still some challenges with illegal encampments and off-trail use in some of the wetlands areas and some other portions of the park that it requires active and regular management. There is a very long time horizon, as I alluded to earlier, that to restore sensitive features once damage is done, it takes much more time to undo that damage. However, there's an amazing educational potential at this site. There's so much that people already have a fascinating connection to the site. They want to continue learning more. We want to tap into that and continue tapping into the engaged community members that want to see this site flourish. There's also, due to those various resources in the park, that can draw a more breadth of potential funding opportunities as well. And with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton. Any commissioner comments or questions? Nothing? Commissioner?
I wanted Commissioner Brown to go first because she knows more than me, but I'll get it started. Thank you for the presentation. I actually, as a resident, didn't know very much about Fairview Park, going into this role or running for office. And I've been surprised at how contentious of a topic it is, but at the same time, it's like this double-edged sword because in government, it's so nice when people care a lot. You know, all this passion is because they love the park and have found many ways to enjoy it. And so in light of that, I was wondering, what is something that you wish people understood about Fairview Park, or what do you think is a common misunderstanding?
That's a good question. I think one of the things I wish people understood more is that no intervention or action or change is a simple undertaking. It's very involved. Analytically, we have to constantly be thinking about what are the other features, resources, agencies, stakeholders that could be affected. So that's a constant challenge, but also, you know, it makes the site really unique and kind of special too.
So everything is complex to solve.
Absolutely.
You can't just slap a Band-Aid on it, right? Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's true for a lot of other government problems too. I would love to, so I went to one of the community input meetings, also similar, right? It was just like so excited that so many people showed up, but it was also a little chaotic. And now that we've had a few, would you say there are any like patterns in the findings from the community input meetings? Anything that's been surprising? We covered a lot of territory. So yeah, I want to hear how those went.
So certainly there's been a lot of kind of common themes and comments and concerns that have come forth. We will be doing a better deep dive in our future meeting on that to give you more detail, but there's, you know, there's an obvious connection, and there's a strong sense of passion, and there's a need to protect the park, to continue allowing people to use it and enjoy from all the unique features that it contains. But we will be doing a better summary of that in a future meeting to kind of highlight those recurring themes.
Cool. Yeah, and a lot of that data is probably with the consultants, right? Like all
Correct.
those sheets we filled out and stuff.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Okay, my next question is, can you explain how the mitigation arrangements process works?
Yes, so our past mitigation arrangements, think of them as it's a compensatory mechanism. So outside agencies, they are doing a project and they're degrading or they're impacting a resource, and as a part of the CEQA process, generally it's CEQA, if not possibly, if there's federal resources involved, there's also federal permits and NEPA. That CEQA is the California Environmental Quality Act, but as part of getting approval to do those projects, they have to compensate for impacts to bring it down to where there's not a net negative to the resource. So if they impact, it's very species and resource dependent. So for example, one of the areas of the wetlands that had a requirement to restore about 17 acres of riparian habitat. So that was based on an opinion that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service drafts. They get all the information from the project applicant on the, in that case it was the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers when they were doing dredging and a significant project in the Santa Ana River. So those agencies have to look to outside entities and say, where can we either allocate a project or allocate funding towards offsetting that impact, where the resource is not going to be, you know, adversely impacted in the long run. So there's both. It's very, there's no straightforward. There could be temporary impacts, or there could be long-term, and they could have to mitigate for both, or one or the other.
Was the freeway expansion the OCTA one?
Yes, so that was
Cool.
part of a large regional plan.
So I knew about that, but I just thought, I wonder if it's like, here's a list of, you know, paying your penance.
Mm-hmm.
And then is there like a distance radius, like it has to be directly in the community you're impacting?
Yes, the agencies, the state and the federal agencies, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, they come up with kind of planning areas. And so we're in like the central Orange County coastal NCCP, HCP, there's so many acronyms in the technical fields, but that refers to a large area that goes up from like Huntington Beach all the way south towards like South Orange County. And so they had to locate project sites within that planning area and establish both preserves, which are like, things that OCTA owns, as well as allocate restoration projects towards agencies, including ourselves. So we competed in a solicitation process. We applied for those funds and we were awarded funds, and now, so it's something we want. We benefit from getting the outside funding, but as a landowner, we ultimately bear the responsibility for long-term management. So to keep that site, keep it going. So.
Super interesting. Thank you. And then my last question is, do you know if there's any overlapping animal population with Fairview Park and Back Bay?
Yes, there's a number of species that would forage and use both areas, and I mean, even in between there, anecdotally, City Hall is kind of situated right between the Santa Ana River and Newport Bay, and we see a lot of raptor activity along this corridor from like Fair Drive to going west to the golf course, and but yeah, certainly there's birds, avian species, of course, would be the ones that would use both, but yeah, I think it is part of.
Maybe even T-Winkle.
Yeah, it is part of a corridor.
That's awesome. Yeah, I live closer to Back Bay, so I think some of those birds look familiar to me. Mm-hmm. Well, that's all my questions. Thank you so much. And I'll hand it over to the next person.
That's great. I just want to take a moment and acknowledge, Mr. Dalton, your commitment and your work on Fairview Park and how much I deeply appreciate it and how impressed I am by your work. And I just want to note a couple of things that I've noticed as I've attended those Fairview Park committee meetings, because people have a lot of strong opinions. They're very vocal and they're passionate, and I so appreciate that. But we have an administrator in Mr. Dalton who is extremely knowledgeable, very thoughtful, very attentive to detail, and just so incredibly patient. And so I just have to say thank you. I've been really impressed by your work, and it shows. And that park deserves it, and it needs it. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
One thing we do hear there a lot is around the need for more park rangers. It's 208 acres. So I'd be curious, this is a question, then I have a comment. Mr. Dalton, what do you think in terms of the park ranger situation? You did, in your slide, I appreciated you talked about some of the challenges, because there are so many opportunities, but there are challenges too, and that's one of them. What do you think the park needs? I mean, again, because you talked about so much, it's so rich. What do you think the park needs?
I think a lot of things are going in the right direction right now. More resources, more presence, more community activities, engagement, restoration. All of that it's not always possible to calculate, or it's not a tangible difference, but year over year, we are seeing less of that activity. I think it's incremental, and it's happening maybe in the background. But the more individuals that come to these events and learn something, they're sharing that with their contacts. Certainly the staffing, of course, is always a challenge with all departments, programs, activities. So that will improve as staffing is built and as these projects get their investment as well. I think those are all going to go in the right direction, as well as the educational component of more signs, better delineated trails, and better definition of how you use this space. I think that will have an indirect beneficial effect on vandalism and off-trail trespassing and damage that occurs as a result of those things. So.
If I can also add, Kelly and his team do an amazing job out at Fairview Park, and part of it is also supporting it from the other departments as well. So we've reinstated a monthly meeting where we bring our maintenance team, our park rangers, our neighborhood improvement manager, and his outreach team, so that we can discuss these very issues. And address them and approach them in a multi-pronged approach. That's what it'll take. It's such a large, unique, crown jewel in the city. So we have started that collaboration and we'll continue to support it. So again, Kelly, Paul, and Diana, who's out in the audience, I'm very grateful for them. They're very passionate and they put in a lot of work into that facility, and we'll continue to work with our maintenance team. Rob is always great to work with. He and his team also are great partners in this, and also with our PD.
That's good to hear. Thank you. The next is just a comment. I appreciated that you mentioned in your presentation signage a couple of times because I think that's really important. There is so much, and I've learned a lot participating in these meetings that I didn't know before. Shame on me, right? That you can live in Costa Mesa so long and not know this. But it is so rich culturally, and it's such an opportunity in terms of education for our youth. So this is just a plea, and I've made it in the Fairview Park committee meetings as well. We need to take the signage issue seriously, not just having signs, but think creatively as a city in terms of those signs as part of a larger communication strategy. We need to think about it in terms of whose story are we telling and who are we inviting to tell the story in the signage, right? So that's one part of it. And I think we have an opportunity to be creative and innovative and maybe even lead nationally in terms of who we're getting to tell the stories. Because again, our Indigenous partners here, I hope, will be very much a part of that. And then also the design. And so I think that as we think about Fairview Park as Fairview Park, that design should be a part of it. But I would encourage the city to think broadly, and we're about to go into an open space master plan, to think broadly across the city in terms of how do we want to design signs that tell our story in ways that speak to a variety of public. So I think youth engagement, I think a whole list of people would be super important for that. But I would just mention that there is a clear link between those educational opportunities at Fairview Park and Parks and Rec, right? In terms of as we're offering mobile programs, as we're offering after school opportunities, there's a lot that you can do at Fairview Park that's around climate change, that's around biodiversity, that's around ecology. This is a resource. Think about what other cities could offer that kind of after-school programming that's so rich in terms of arts, in terms of humanities, in terms of the sciences, in terms of mathematics. I hope we take advantage of this. And then the last thing I'll say is that if you have not gotten a beautiful calendar from the Fairview Park Alliance, you definitely, I'm sorry I didn't bring them. I should have brought them. We need to get you some calendars. They're really lovely. Great photographs. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown and Vice Chair Dorn Parker.
Thank you so much. I've been part of this community for a very long time. When you talk about the signage, one of the historical stories I'm hoping we'll tell was the damage we did as a community. In the 50s and 60s, when there was a lot of building, there was a lot of trash that was put into the Fairview Park. It was before the city took it over. So when you're starting to tell the story, because one of the things that I think we don't understand is how our past lack of knowledge destroyed, and like you had said in your presentation, Mr. Dalton, which was so clear, 5 days of destruction probably means 5 to 10 years of restoration. So I would hope that would be part of the story, and not to lay blame, just to understand what we used to know. We sort of like, if we know better, we do better. So now we know better, so we're doing better. The other thing is I love the idea with after school. I know in some of these very rich community and biodiverse, like in Central Coast, they do after school programs like junior ranger programs is the best way to describe it, where our rangers and Mr. Dalton's team describes the knowledge that they need, and they become, after school and summer program to add to the ownership. Because one thing that I learned when I was over in the Back Bay area where I've lived is I watched it being abused, and I was one of them where I didn't understand how my dogs going free was not okay. And then when the community really began the restoration and they began the knowledge, then we and the community became to take ownership. So when you talk about and it's education. So when people go off trail, many of them don't understand the destruction, but the more we educate, the more we own. So I love where we're moving, and I love the community being part of it, and everybody who, especially that came to the one meeting I was at was so passionate, and they were very clear in their lens, but there's so many parts of this park that is multi-layered, as you said, and you know, the ones who utilize it for recreation are so angry that it could be turned off. So then they're saying things that aren't true. Then we have ones who are really worried that some of the use other people see will ruin the hard work they put in with restoration. So I really appreciate how you've taken this and understand it on a multi-layer, and that the master plan, but the signage is so important in so many directions and opportunities. So I just, thank you, Kelly, for keep bringing that up. And it's a form of communication, form of education, but it's a form of ownership that we really need, because I believe that will be long-term the best solution for the park going forward, for the critters that live there. I mean, it's amazing. Like you said, I have falcons who come into one of my tall trees, and I swear I saw the one falcon both at the bay in my tree and when I was over in Fairview Park taking a walk. I call it, you know, my falcon. So I'm pretty certain that they go in between. So thank you so much for the work, and I want to thank all the community who are very passionate. Together, we will have a great master plan.
Definitely. Well, thank you, Commissioners, Vice Chair, for the comments. I just wanted to add to that. I've definitely also learned a lot about Fairview Park being on this commission. It's been a wonderful experience to walk the park with different members of city staff, different passionate advocates from the community, and have learned a lot from them over the years. So I'm grateful for that and for the work, Mr. Dalton, that you're doing. I guess I just wanted to speak a little bit. I know Vice Chair Dorn Parker touched on it, but I think that's really, you know, because Fairview Park is, as Alma said, it's, you know, the crown jewel of Costa Mesa. And I think there's a tension that's at the heart of that. West Side Costa Mesa being a park poor neighborhood compared to the rest of Orange County, right? And I know that the city council is very focused on looking for other opportunities within West Side Costa Mesa. So it's a very dense, highly populated area, and people need access to open space, right? People need to get out, enjoy it, and so there's that tension between, you know, that local population. I consider myself part of that, right? I want to go enjoy the park, get out there, take my son for a walk. And then, of course, there's that equally important effort to preserve and protect the natural environment. And so I think, you know, as we, you know, talk about where we've been and where we're going with Fairview Park, I think it's important to remember that and speak to that. Of course, we want to preserve and protect, but fundamentally also, this is a space for people to come out, enjoy open space, and learn about it while they're doing that, right? So I think great comments tonight, and we're excited to take this forward with the next meeting, with the master plan update. So that'll be a great meeting, and looking forward to that. I guess I just wanted to quickly ask, in terms of the overall funding that was allocated by Senator Minn's grant, I believe that was over a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. So I'm just wondering if, you know, you could provide an update on, you know, any funding that's been spent thus far, or where are we? Because, you know, this is not a small amount of money, right? This is $4.5 million for a significant restoration effort in the park. So I guess my main, you know, for tonight's presentation, in terms of the content, I was expecting a little bit more about that, given the scale and scope of that funding award from the state. I mean, that's a big deal for the city, right? It's not often, not ever in our city's history that we've gotten almost $5 million for Fairview Park from a state grant. So I think a more thorough update on that would be appropriate.
Sure, I'll go ahead and take that, Chair. So I think it was late November was when we were approached by the California Parks Department, where we got to meet and discuss the funding that we had received through the Office of Senator Minn, and also our Assemblywoman Cotty Petrie Norris, because she also helped fund Ketchum Leibold. We've been meeting with the state, and there's applications that need to be submitted, and during the holiday, we were working on, you know, procurement process and retaining services. We're gonna, as we said, it's very complex. There's a lot of intricacies to what we do at Fairview Park. Therefore, we need to build that team with the proper consultants alongside with our team in engineering and also with Mr. Kelly Dalton. So that is in progress. I know that we have already started some of the procurement process for some of the consultants that we will be utilizing, and we'll be going out to bid and developing a plan that involves our engineering division. I believe that in the near future, our Public Works Director and City Engineer will be presenting to this commission an update on all the projects that are being funded through this money that we received. And it'll go into further detail as far as timelines go. But right now, what we're doing is procuring the consultants that we need and also some project management teams to come in and assist our city staff as well.
That makes sense. I appreciate the update, Alma. I know there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen sometimes with consultants, so I hope y'all can do that as quickly as you can and get the project underway. Commissioner Wall, go ahead.
Just real quickly to Alma, there's a deadline on when we have to use this money, is there not? I think it's 2025 that we have to have submitted everything that we want to do against the money that was funded?
There are deadlines. The funding needs to be, we need to start spending it by 2026. So we work consistently with the state, and we have meetings, and we provide progress reports. And if extensions are required, depending on the progress of the project, we have been able to get those extensions with the state. But at this time, we are looking to be on track. We're just building the team so that we have multiple projects at the same time. So we have Fairview Park, we have Tewinkle, we have Ketchum-Liebelt, Shalimar. I think I'm missing a couple more, but we are building these teams so that we are running all these projects concurrently.
And then if I may, just real quick, what's our next strategy for funding? I mean, obviously Dave Min's office was extremely generous, and Katrina Foley kicked in a few bucks too, and so that there's been a lot of energy centered around these initiatives, and so it begs the question: what do we do next? I mean, is there another opportunity for us to seek funding beyond 2026 and even further?
Sure,
forward?
that's a great question. The city manager's office is always looking for money. We are actually I'm happy to announce that we've actually brought in a dedicated government affairs manager who is working with our consultant team, is Townsend Public Affairs, who has been a huge resource to us as a city to be able to connect with these offices and work closely and review our applications. So we've been very successful when it comes to grant funding. The other part is that I'm also excited. We've also hired a new community relations manager. I'm hoping to bring both of them to the commission so that I can formally introduce them to you. So we do have a team that works with each department, and right now our capital projects list is immense. So we want to make sure that we are completing the projects that we have right now on the docket and make sure that we do a great job with them. But we will continue to, based on this, this council goals, the vision, we will tailor our requests. I know that right now sustainability is also a huge priority for us, so we will be seeking grants in that space, but we will continue to find opportunities in the park space if we can add on to our current projects, and if we find additional funding, any grants that would make sense for us to apply for, we would go ahead and do that.
Great. Well, thank you, Commissioner Wall. Thank you, Alma and Kelly. I guess I'll just close comments by saying I believe the last draft we got was in October, but just the tracking matrix of the capital projects that were grant funded from the state and county. So if we could get a refresh of that, include Mr. Dalton's projects after this meeting, I think that would be a wonderful tool for the commission. Awesome. Thank you all. And thank you again, Mr. Dalton, for the presentation tonight.
Chair Rutherford,
Yeah.
we do need to open up for public comment for
Thank
this
you.
item.
Yes, that is what we're going to do before we go to the next item on the agenda. So we will open this item for public comment. If any members of the public would like to speak about Fairview Park, now's the time.
Good evening, Commission. Jay Humphrey, Costa Mesa resident, and very dedicated to Fairview Park. Having said all that, I have three items. The first item is electric bikes in Fairview Park. We're not allowed any motorized bikes in Fairview Park or any motorized vehicles now that we can only allow soaring for the Harbor Soaring Society, which I'm fine with, no motors. But there's no enforcement, because I've been there and seen multiple electronic bikes going through Fairview Park on the trails at about 20 miles an hour. And when I say not one, multiple. So I would like to see something happen in that respect. Again, it's a new toy, and we need to find ways to make it work for our whole community. Secondarily, we have a RINA number of 11,750 units to be built between now and 2030. If all those are built, the park fund will raise $110 million. 110. So keep in mind that not only do we need funding from the state and other sources, we need to make sure that we don't allow differentials to change and not collect that money, which we put into law about 10 years ago. We've made a number of dollars from it, but we need to continue to do that to protect our parks. And the last thing, I'm a believer in communication. I believe it's an absolute necessity. The more, the better. If you're going to fail to the more side of communication. Don't fail to the less side of it. Having said that, tonight we just received a 19-slide presentation about Fairview Park, which nobody in the public who would come to make comments had the opportunity to look at what those were going to be and be able to be educated on what to ask. So now what you get to do is, if you're going to ask questions, you got to do it just like this. And that, to me, is a failure of getting the information out. I've already been informed that the slide presentation will be on the website. Again, how does the public know about that? There's all kinds of different processes. And I would beg this committee to try to find ways to keep the public informed about all our park issues, and obviously for me, more for Fairview Park, because it is a unique place that you've all made comments about tonight, about that it's an important resource for our far community, our far future, our education, our understanding of what we're all about and those choices. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Humphrey. Ms. Fatua, are there any other public comments tonight?
If there are any members on Zoom, please raise your hand. Chair, I see no hands raised.
Great, thank you. We'll close public comments. Commissioner Wall, I saw you itching to say something. Okay. I think that was actually a great point that Mr. Humphrey raised. I know Commissioner Wall touched on it previously. But yes, park funding, park funding was pretty low when I first came on the commission, due to the dip in development since Measure Y was passed in 2016. There were really no development projects at all. I mean, even right now, there's really no development fees coming into the city park fund, right? So it's actually been a huge and helpful stopgap to have the state grant funding. But Vice Chair Dorn Parker and I have been passionate advocates for more housing, and that's really going to replenish our park funds. So I'm very excited for that going forward, and to see some of those funds come back to do restoration and all that other fun stuff. So great. With no more public comments, we'll close this agenda item, receive and file the report. Thank you, Mr. Dalton, and move on to the second item of new business, which is the 2023 department program highlights. So we'll turn it over to our Deputy City Manager, Alma Reyes.
Yes, thank you. This evening, our Recreation Manager, Monique Villaseñor, along with our department staff, has put together a recap of the year and all the successful programs and services that we've provided. So we wanted to share some of our highlights of this year. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to our Recreation Manager, Monique Villaseñor.
Good evening, Commission, Chair. Happy New Year. This meeting, and I don't believe that we've ever done a year-end report for you guys as a commission, and I thought it was important for us to recap the year, just so you guys can see. I know that typically in the director's report, you guys get a lot of tables and year over year, month over month comparisons, and sometimes it gets jumbled, but kind of wanted to put it into one comprehensive year-end report. I know you've heard in the last couple of meetings some presentations specific, program specific, and so we're just going to put together some numbers for you guys, and it's just some fun year-end pictures, and also from our maintenance side, and Rob will be touching on some of the accomplishments from his end in Public Works. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So as you know, we reimagined our recreation brochure, and we titled it The Spotlight. I think that was a big endeavor for us to undertake. A lot of thought went into naming it The Spotlight, considering we're the city of the arts. And so it's been really well received, and it's continuing to take suggestions on improvements and how to get things out there. It's also a way of engagement too, just one additional way. So any kind of information, when we have workshops, we're always looking to put new information in there. It has gone to over 183,000 households from the issues that we've printed just in 2023. So I think that having that hard copy is an addition to social media and everything like that, all the other forms of publication and marketing that we do. This is just one small avenue, but I think an important one. In 2023, we established 39 new contract classes. Our contract class program is where we provide services and contract classes that we partner with other individuals and organizations to provide services and programs that the city staff cannot provide in our facilities. So we added a number of new classes coming back out of COVID, obviously to reinvigorate some of our programs and classes and get our recreation centers up and going again and thriving. We have dance and youth gymnastics, incorporated some STEM projects. We have these really cool Lego engineering type of classes. Gaming has been a huge uptick. Esports is a thing, and a lot of kids like to join the classes on those classes and programs that teach you how to, I guess, stream your games and play and compete. Personal enrichment, we have yoga classes for adults now, dog obedience training. So just our contract class is ever growing and very quite popular. So to date, we've had 1,956 participants, and you see the breakdown there. Our youth classes are our most popular classes, and we serve primarily Costa Mesa residents. You can see our popular classes are some of our youth sports classes and gymnastics classes at the Downtown Recreation Center. A really fun one, and that I've talked a lot about in the last year, is our new adaptive programming, which is new for the city of Costa Mesa, expanding that, which is programming for all abilities. We started imagining this program with a part-time staffer, and now we have one full-time dedicated to these programs, and it took we started out with doing a lot of research, reaching out to Chapman University, Vanguard University, reaching out to agencies about politically correct terms, because we are not the specialized in adaptive, but reaching out to the ones who are educated in these. We started out this program with an event called Conversations Over Coffee, which we were going to continue, which is just a meetup. And I found it to be a very valuable way to engage this demographic and these participants into really what they want. We don't want to tell them what they want. We want them to tell us what they want. And so our first Conversations Over Coffee was held at Angels Playground, which is our universally accessible playground at the shelter there. And it was really great to hear from the participants that came and their parents or their guardians that brought them to really tell us what they're looking for. You know, just a little bit of background about that that first meetup at the Conversations Over Coffee. We provided free desserts and hot chocolate at that meetup, and a lot of them, you know, they get services at their school district, but once they move on from the school district and they phase out or they age out of the school system, there's not a lot of programs and services thereafter for them. And so that was, you know, just one kind of need and calling that we heard from them, and trying to, okay, how do we either provide programming or hook them up with the right organizations or services. And so really, this is just getting started, so trying to create an abundance of resources for this group that we haven't provided programs and services for before. We started out our first event for this population. We called it a Wicked Dance, held at the Senior Center. It had 40 attendees. It was magical. It was special, and you had to have been there. I could try to explain it, but it was wonderful. The participants had the time of their life, and we look forward to doing many more of those. For Snoopy House event, if you attended our Snoopy House event, it was 8-9 days, but one of the days we started a little bit early. It was a sensory-friendly event where we didn't have any lights, sounds. Police department came out, the fire department came out. We had a Santa Claus special out there for that time before any of the music started, and it was also so special to be able to accommodate those with adaptive needs. So, moving on to our youth sports programs. These youth sports programs are all free. There are a variety of different sports. We have basketball and cheer during a certain season. We have volleyball, and we also have the running club, which takes place at Fairview Park. Or they train at our rec centers, and then they do a big run at Fairview Park, and then they ride the train for the day. But these sports are always popular. We had 394 children just in 2023 participate, and it's always a joy for our staff to be able to teach these kids and introduce them to sports maybe that they wouldn't have otherwise participated in. Our mobile recreation program, which we just started in the fall, is thriving, and our staff are doing a wonderful job of going to different parks that may not have access to park space. So we go to Shalimar, Ketchum, Leibolt, Wilson, and Polarino, I believe, right now. We might be adding more parks in the future, but we're looking at really like the park deficient areas and really where recreational needs are needed the most. But as we expand that program, grow that program, we'll hopefully reach even more. And the staff have got to know the kids at some of these sites. They're regulars and they're getting more comfortable. So we get about 45 kids in a week at some of these parks and programs, and we're just hopefully that's just the beginning. Our ROCKS program, which is Recreation on Campus for Kids, is our after-school program operating at 9 school sites during the school year, and then at our Billerick Community Center and Downtown Recreation Center during the summer. In our after-school program, that is thriving. You could see that we have 4,729 children enrolled in 2023, and that number grows probably weekly. We get registrations all week, all the time. The summer program is even more bustling. It's a great program. You're not required to come, so it gives parents the opportunity to have their kids either stay after school or somewhere to go in the summer that continues some activities and being outside. And we also bring in entertainment or educational value to some of those days that they're in there in the summer. Camp Costa Mesa is for the grades 1 through 6th. New last year, what we started was the one-day camps when there was the non-school days where it was like an in-service day for teachers, but kids had off, but parents obviously still have to work as well. And we got so many thanks and gratitude from, I can't tell you how many parents we've received cards and thank yous saying we're so glad that you guys are open or offering something during these days, because they're just one-off days sometimes. And so over 1,100 kids last year, I think is a tremendous number. LEAP are preschool age children. This program, I'm not sure if I had mentioned it in a previous presentation, but we transitioned that program this year to a 5-day-a-week for 3 to 5 year olds. It used to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 to 4, Tuesday, Thursday, 4 to 5, and we found that parents wanted some place where they can send their kids or enroll their kids for 5 days a week, not just 2, and it's certain age groups. And that's another program that once we made that switch and we adapted based off of what we heard parents wanting, that they were extremely thankful for. So we get 409 children, and they operate out of Balearic in the 2 different classrooms. It's very cute. If you ever stop by those classrooms, you would never believe that our staff do such an amazing job. So, and that's our LEAP. Our downtown recreation center, our drop-in programs, our open gym is absolutely thriving. You see our total attendance for all the sports at open gym is over 11,000 attendance records. That's pickleball. Pickleball might be our most popular drop-in, but very close behind that, we get volleyball, which is sometimes surprising for people, but there's not a lot of places for indoor volleyball to just go and play outside of private clubs. And so our volleyball is definitely taking off. This year during the holidays, we kept our recreation center open for a few more days while the kids were in break, to provide a place for them to go and play in the gym and go to our teen center, which is new, that the city hasn't previously done in prior years. Our teen centers, those are our biggest next endeavor, I would say, is to really hit the teens and try to get them participating. Our staff is small but mighty, which is, I guess, for all of our programs. And they're really doing good with outreaching to some of our teens and getting them involved. And we provide after-school transportation from Ensign Intermediate. We also work with SOY, the Save Our Youth program, with some of their teens to do some programs. And currently, we're trying to reinvigorate our teen center at the Downtown Recreation Center. We're going to try to give it a fresh new look, make it more appealing to some of the modern-day teenagers that, give it the look that they're looking to have there. And we recently hosted the teens versus the PD dodgeball snowball fight, and it was just a blast. We had teens that had never participated in any program before come out for those. So we look to hopefully to engage some more of those teenagers, and hopefully start to ask them, like I said, it's better. I don't know what a teenager wants. I'm not a teenager, so start to get some of these teenagers involved and then asking them what they want. Again, with summer camp, where we're looking to increase those numbers, but they have a blast. We're doing a lot of outdoor adventure type of programs, also STEM related, but also fun at the same time. So those, since I've been here in the last 3 years, they've grown every year, and so just looking to keep that trend going. Our aquatic center, again, over 6,000 participants in 2023. The lifeguards are amazing. We transitioned. I know that during the job fair, I had told you guys we are training all of our lifeguards to be instructor lifeguards, so all of them can now teach all the children how to swim and give them swim lessons. We don't have one lifeguard that's just a lifeguard anymore. So I think that's a huge benefit. We have, I think, now 20 lifeguards on staff, which is a lot different than 5 from previous summers. And so those programs were able to accommodate more hours of lap swim, more open rec swim, and partner with some of our programs like Save Our Youth to provide swim lessons. Again, instructional classes, over 1,300 participants in 2023. And they don't just range in youth. We're teaching adults how to swim too. We get a handful of adults that come out and they'll do one-on-one instructionals with our lifeguards, which is great to see too. So I know that we have an arts commission now, but I don't want to leave that out because that is still part of our department. And so I just wanted to highlight some of the accomplishments that we did on the art side. I know it transitioned. We had our annual Art Venture exhibition. It was held at the Norma Herzog Community Center, and it was new this year. It lasted a whole week, or I think more than 10 days. It was up at the Norma Herzog Community Center. We had an amazing award ceremony at ACMA. We also had a special celebrity guest attend, Ken Jeong. I don't know, he's not in the audience, but you know, he didn't get the call. And it was just a really unique, amazing experience. I want to throw my kudos to our art specialist, Laurette Garner, who does amazing work on the art side. We're wrapping more utility boxes. If you ever see a utility box and it's brand new, that's all her. And our Arts Commission approving those art. I also want to say, if you ever see a utility box that you think that might meet, she's pretty good at keeping track of all of them. But we'll replace them if you see any kind of damage or anything like that. We're pretty good at getting on top of that. Our Arts Commission celebrated their first anniversary in November, and so that was kind of a milestone for the Arts Commission. They gave away $7,500 in arts grants to different nonprofits and organizations doing projects in the art world. We had these art crawl experiences where we take small groups to either artist studios. Our last one was focused on theater arts. They got to see a play. They went to the lab, I believe, and they just got a little bit small groups on background experiences in different realms of the art world. We had 6 new art exhibitions at city facilities. So we had some here. If you've been in the lobby here, that's one of them. I think we have some middle school art there. We also had a senior, the senior center has some art up on the 2nd floor. If you ever stop by, you can check that out. We have an art in public places document that we just we approved as a commission, and that will help guide our way as we implement new public art around the city. We have some new art for the Civic Center. If you take a peek in one of our conference rooms, it was up there today. We also have it up on our 5th floor, and now it's expanding our civic art collection. And there's some really nice pieces at Fairview Park and some other historic buildings in the city. We started a Free at Segerstrom pilot program. So this is a program to reach Costa Mesa residents that, for one way or another, may not be able to participate in arts programs, whether that's because of financial issues or any other kind of issues. So we started with a performance of A Christmas Carol, where we took a group of Soy students to go see that at the South Coast Repertory. We'll be partnering with future nonprofits and finding ways to give back. I think our next program is to see a showing of The Lion King at Segerstrom. So this is a way to really get arts to the community who may not be able to either afford it or attend for one reason or another. So expand arts throughout the city. We started the free park performances around parks in Costa Mesa. I hope you've been able to attend one. I think we even did one that in the slight rain with Pacific Symphony at Tewinkle. But there's been numerous park performances across many parks, and we're going to continue that into 2024. We restored the Home on the Range mural. If you don't know what that is, that's the mural on the courtyard wall that borders the fire department across from Estancia High School. We actually recognized Becky Feltman, the artist who restored it. She was the daughter of the original artist, and it was a very moving presentation, and she was very grateful to the city and our department for us having her come and restore her mom's work. I think she's a great artist in the community, and it was really special to see. And I don't know, the public art, our first public art sculptures are going to be presented soon in the form of butterflies. And so I look up at Alma because this is one of her favorite projects. But we hope to have some more information about the butterfly garden soon.
Sure. This has been one of our first projects that will feature art. So we're super excited. I've been working with Rob and his team. This is part of our West Side Restoration Project, so it'll be along Placentia at the end on 19th, and it's by Marina View Park. So we'll be announcing when we're in the planning stages for the ribbon cutting, so we'll make sure to invite everyone. We're super excited. It's going to be the best little butterfly garden in Costa Mesa, and we have 2 more coming, so we're super excited. So one more way to add art into our community while also attracting butterflies and beautifying a space that was just a slope that really didn't have any appeal to it, and just another way to beautify our community.
Going on, we reopened our facilities back up for rentals. We brought on a coordinator for this specific purpose, and since in 2003 we've done over 270 rentals, and they're still ongoing. We're now booking out a year in advance, and so expect to see that number dramatically grow. Our athletic fields, they're never not busy. I think Rob can attest to the maintenance that he has to do on them all the time. But we have, 26 group users per allocation season in 2022. We have 28 facilities that that's in conjunction with the joint use agreement that we have with the school district. But obviously we have some more used facilities: Costa Mesa High School, our own Jack Hammett Sports Complex, our T. Winkle Sports Complex, and for all users in 2023, over 5,000 participants playing on those fields. Our adult sports plays at the DRC gym. Basketball, when I came on board, it was only 1 night a week. We didn't have very many teams. Some seasons were at risk of getting canceled. We've had some good staff come on board and really reinvigorate that program, which brings in a decent amount of revenue as well. But sports leagues have now grown, and we have a demand for them. We have 56 total registered teams with over 400 players in 2023, which is the most that we have ever had in the city for our adult sports basketball. Softball, that program is run by Major League Softball, which is a company that we partner with. We get a percentage of the fees that they take in, and they are always full. They're at max capacity. They they rarely have open slots for play. Our community gardens, I think you've heard, we're full. We make progress. We have 2 staff members. I think I've touted Tony, who was our gardens guy for a long time, as sometimes I think he's the hardest working guy. Don't tell Rob. But he's out there all the time doing such an amazing job of reinvigorating, I say that all the time, but these garden plots, both at Del Mar and Hamilton. We have one other staff member now that has since come on board, and we have 99 parcels. They're all rented, and we are still figuring out maybe some ways to expand some plots or smaller gardening sizes, so we're still doing the research on that to hopefully get some more people into our gardens. Our senior center, I know that you guys got a really in-depth presentation on our senior center, so I don't think I have to touch too much on that base, but 800 plus registered participants in 2023 through all their enrichment and recreational classes. Our events are thriving there, over 1,200 participants, and you could see the list of events that we've had. The health fair is one of the biggest and most informational but fun ones as well. Our transportation program is probably the most robust in the county. We served over 10,000 rides in 2023, and that's a partnership that we get funding through OCTA, the M2 funds, and it's a senior mobility and medical program. A lot of cities get a portion of some funds, but we probably have the biggest ridership of any city in the county.
I also would add that we do receive funding from Hoag Hospital. We apply for a grant with them every year, and this year we were able to increase that allocation, so
yeah,
we're looking forward to that.
our meal programs, which I think are just as popular as the transportation program. You know, our congregate lunch program served over 11,000 in 2023, and then our grocery program, over 78 tons distributed to seniors in Costa Mesa. On to special permits, over 555 park permits. That's renting shelters or park space for, you know, birthday parties or special areas of use at different parks. Our TESA permits, which is our new electronic permitting program, which Kathia, I think she's behind me, she was, has taken our lead on. And so we've now transferred everything but our park permits to TESA. And now we have streamlined our special event permits, 59 permits that were executed in 2023. We've also, I think I mentioned that we've taken on film permits, and since then we've done 10 permits there, and block party permits, 4th of July, Labor Day, where people apply for their block closures. We do those as well. So that has definitely streamlined our permitting process, and we look forward to more to come with TESA. And now I will give it over to Rob Ryan with maintenance.
Thank you, Monique. So I have the privilege of serving as maintenance services manager, which is one of 3 divisions that's falls under public works, along with engineering and transportation. We happen to be the largest division with bragging rights in terms of staff and operating budget. So some of our responsibilities include the maintenance and repair and alteration and improvements of the city's municipal facilities. One of the things that we talk about in maintenance is it's always difficult to portray what we do on a regular basis. Following, Monique's presentation is always tough. Following up Sung's engineering projects, it's always tough. Very tangible projects you get to see. So we always talk about, typically, if we are on our game, you probably won't even notice we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. So it becomes really difficult to put that into perspective. So I'm just going to present some of the things that we're responsible for and a few of the things that you may not know that we do on a regular basis. So with that, one of the sections, I oversee 5 sections within the division. I'm going to talk briefly about 2 of those sections that happen to touch this commission and the parks specifically. So the first is our Parks and Parkway Maintenance section. So that section oversees the contract for the maintenance of over 226 acres of landscape. Includes parks, playgrounds, sports fields, the field preps within those sports fields, the renovations, all the landscape around city facilities, our Tewinkle Lake, all the bike trails. It also includes the maintaining and managing of the city's urban forest, which consists of close to 24,000 trees. We also are responsible for maintaining those trees in a manner that keeps us compliant and as a Tree City USA. So we're pretty proud of that distinction, and we work really hard to keep that. We have 7 full-time staff, including 2 certified ISA certified arborists, not including myself. I would be the 3rd. So that's pretty significant for a city of our size, and we're pretty proud of that as well. The second section that comes into play with a lot of our parks is our facility maintenance section. So they're responsible for maintaining and repairing 23 city-owned buildings, many of which you saw in Monique's presentation. It totals over 300,000 square feet. Also includes 8 first responder buildings and the shelter that operates 24/7. All of those operate 24/7. It includes buildings leased from and to outside agencies. Annually, they respond to over 1,100 requests for service or repair to city-owned buildings. They're also responsible for administrating and supervising all contract services required to maintain all those facilities. So some of the park maintenance responsibilities that we do on an annual basis, we oversee the annual renovations of the city's 37 acres of sports fields. That includes Lyric soccer fields, the FDC fields, Jack Hammett, Luke C. Davis Field, and the Tewinkle Athletic Complex. We perform renovations on an annual basis to the turf. That would include the scalping or phrase mowing, aeration of the fields, overseeding, top dressing the fields with an organic material. We do sodding of some of the bare areas and some of the heavily worn areas to try to maintain those heavily programmed fields as best we can. We also take care of the infields, especially at Tewinkle Athletic Complex. We renovate those on an annual basis. That includes tilling and laser grading of all the infield surfaces. We add material as needed as it's worn away. Typically in a year, we can add over 50 tons of material. Rebuilding of all pitcher's mounds, batter's boxes, home plate areas. We replace the pitching rubbers and home plate on an annual basis. We also replace all the turf around home plate, the base paths, and that transition area between infield and outfield. This last year, we added, during the renovation period, we were able to add netting to the 4 fields at Tewinkle Athletic Complex to help minimize some of the foul balls that are hit into the viewing areas. Another item we do on an annual basis is our sports course surfaces. They're inspected on a regular basis. Courts are chosen each year for surface renovation. We try to hit a court every 2 to 3 years, depending on the use and the wear and tear and the settling and the cracking and those things that occur throughout the year. This last year, it was within last year's budget, but this calendar year, we completed Del Mesa Park, Smallwood Park, and the basketball court at Tanager Park. So we have additional parks that will come up within this fiscal year that we'll be looking just prior to springtime, kind of getting them ready for spring and summer activities when you really start seeing those things flourish. So another aspect is the 29 playgrounds. These playgrounds are inspected on a daily basis for cleanliness and safety. City staff also follows up and inspects them on a regular basis as well. We also conduct annual inspections that's done by a certified playground inspector. Repairs are made throughout the year as needed for safety and aesthetics. We just put up a few examples, a few small examples of what the staff does on a regular basis. These repairs are generally done in-house, and they do a great job. It helps obviously keep the playground safe, and it expands their useful life. So it allows us to keep those playgrounds in service a lot longer than we normally would. I think one of the largest compliments that we received when we brought the Tanager Park renovation to the commission was there was a resident that commented that, well, the playground looks great. I don't think it needs to be replaced. Well, there's a lot of work that goes into keeping those playgrounds looking as good as they do, considering their age and the amount of use they get. So we kind of take that part as a compliment, but the staff does a great job on those things. So just a few things by the numbers. This last year, staff responded to over 475 calls for service in parks and park facilities. We responded to over 1,400 tree-related concerns. We trimmed close to 5,800 trees, and we planted about a little over 300 trees. Some of the challenges that we faced in this last year, for some reason, wire theft and vandalism this last year or so has just been incredibly bad for some reason. It's hitting the city as well as the school district. I know they've had their fair share. So you may, in your areas, see some outages. We're working diligently to repair those. We've had wire theft at Canyon Park, Fairview Park, Marina View Park, Moon Park, Vista Park, Tewinkle Athletic Complex a couple times, as well as the 2 bike trails, Cornerstone Bike Trail and Joanne Bike Trail, have been severely damaged with both wire theft and just outright vandalism, knocking the lights over. Working diligently with PD, they've been great partners in trying to help us kind of harden the targets and come up with ways to deter and keep those areas lit as best we can. So those are some things you might be hearing from the residents. We also had recently was the theft of the plaque for Charles Priest from the Adobe Center, which was bad. But it gave us an opportunity. One of our contractors found the plaque a few miles away, turned it into the city, gave the city the opportunity for staff to restore the plaque. They took the plaque apart, shined it up, restored it. It looks just about new. They had to resurface the stone that's mounted on. That was damaged during the theft, but it's been reinstalled back where it belongs. If you look at social media, I think there's going to be a piece out on social media. So interesting little story. I got to learn a lot about Charles Priest in putting that together. So, but that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Well, huge thanks, Monique, Rob, Laura, and the entire team. Really, really wonderful work. Very moving presentation to see some of the highlights from the past year. So thank you. I hope you're proud, because we're very proud of the work that's been done.
I just want to say also thank you for all your support as a commission. A lot of times we can't do or make anything happen without your support, without the council's support, Alma and her support from the city manager's office. It takes a team, takes a village to get some of these things happen. We can't do programs without staff. We did the job fair, but we couldn't have done the job fair without the pay increases that everybody supported. So it's kind of like the trickle effect where, you know, we can't do it without your guys' support. So we also want to thank you for that too.
Absolutely. It was a wonderful year. So thanks. And yeah, good things keep happening in Costa Mesa. So as the mayor said, it's Camelot in Costa Mesa right now. Any commissioner comments? Commissioner Wall, go ahead.
I've got two. First one is from Monique, and that question is, with all the activities going on, especially inside buildings, are we at any risk of maxing out? Because when I hear the numbers that you displayed in your presentation, they're just huge numbers. And I'm sure some of that's a reflection of growth coming out of COVID and people getting back and doing stuff, which is great. But are we at any risk of maxing out?
No, I wouldn't say that. Our facilities are great and they're big and we have.
And they're busy.
And they are busy. And we are experts in getting creative and finding different ways to do things, whether that's outside or indoors or splitting time or making the time or, so we definitely have gotten creative with time and space. I think if anything in the future, you might need a bigger pool. With how busy we are. Rob gives me the eye over there. But no, you know, we could always do with more parks, right, and more facilities. But we make the best out of what we have, and we definitely get creative, and we still want to grow those numbers because those numbers just means we're serving more community members. So,
yeah, that's great.
If I may add, I also think it's important to form these partnerships. We enjoy a really great partnership with the school district in utilizing their space. Over the holiday break, we were able to launch a soft opening of the West Side schools. So Whittier, Wilson, and Ray were open during the winter break for our children and families that want to enjoy it. We have, the city has allocated funding to have a security guard at each of the school sites to ensure that, you know, the proper and safe and secure use of the facility, as well as keeping children safe during, you know, the school closure. We will continue to work with our partners at the school district to ensure that if there's other, you know, opportunities to enhance the hours so that we can go ahead and provide that access to our community. The other form of a partnership is partnering with groups like Save Our Youth, where we're able to enjoy from each other's facilities and opportunities and taking them to different excursions, giving them, you know, accessibility to the arts, other types of programming, maybe we're in discussions about potentially, you know, creating some type of mentorship program where, you know, students can come into City Hall and, you know, see what department piques their interest. So there's a lot of opportunities and partnerships, and we'll continue to explore that.
That's good stuff. And then the other question is for Rob. You talked about wire theft. Are we talking about copper or some other kind of wire that has some value associated with it that would be a theft draw?
Yeah, correct. It's copper wire. It's realistically pretty minimal value, but to some probably more valuable. And I think we wind up having more repairs and more expensive repairs. We've dedicated a lot of staff time and a lot of funding, operational funding, to replace the wiring and just try to make it a little bit more difficult for people to get into. But yeah, it's copper wire.
Thanks, Commissioner Wall. Any other questions? Commissioner Wright, go ahead.
I have a few comments. I'll start with maintenance. I always notice it, and Public Works might be my favorite department. Obviously, I love our department too, and I like planning too, so I actually can't rank them. But I don't know. I think when you like travel, or if you're from a different area, you maybe have lived somewhere where the roads aren't, always completed and beautiful, or the parks aren't always green with clean bathrooms. And you guys are so fast with fixing things from the app, or going and checking in on a request from residents. And so I really appreciate it, and always feel extremely safe and comfortable here in our city. So thank you so much for what you do and running such an efficient department. Kind of a thankless job, I'm sure. The unsung heroes, right? That's kind of government in general. And then, in regards to our programs, the only thing I really wanted to highlight is just I'm so grateful that our programs are affordable or free. It is really expensive to live here. It's really expensive to have a family here, and there are little to no affordable recreational programs, sports, childcare options. And I really love to see our funds going towards subsidizing these programs to be available to people, and I will always support that. And so I think that's just the one thing. Obviously, they look so amazing. I want to be in all of them. I wish I grew up here and could just be in all those programs. But I just really wanted to highlight that, and to everybody else, that that's huge here. It's very rare, probably doesn't exist beyond what the city or the school district offers. So thank you so much for all that you guys do, and for making them accessible to people from all income backgrounds.
I agree. It's a huge success for our city to be able to offer that. Question first, when is the downtown, Monique, you had mentioned the downtown teen center, the redo, when will that take place or begin? Or the conversation around it begin?
It's already taking place. So we're actually surveying the teens that currently go there into seeing what they want to happen. But we're actually starting with the flooring in there. So the Downtown Recreation Center, some of our centers are more outdated, or so through Rob and the CIP requests on an annual basis, we evaluate, we walk with maintenance teams, and we kind of look at what we want to do, what needs to be done, and what some of our programs and facilities need in terms of operations. And so the teen center was one of those that we recognized needed some kind of refreshing. And really, I think it's really crucial for the Downtown Recreation Center area teens. We have two teen centers. One takes place out of T. Winkle Middle School, and that one's operated out of the middle school. So it's not quite our building that we operated out of, but we supply it with all the programs, whereas the teen center that's at the hub of the Downtown Recreation Center is our building, and that room is dedicated to the teens. And so we really wanted to let them make that space their own. And so we were starting with the flooring, some older, outdated, not very pretty looking tile in there. And so I think we're gonna transition to some kind of cool colored concrete in there, and kind of we have a design consultant coming in and hearing some of the requests and kind of the ideas from staff and the teens that are in there. And so slowly but surely we'll see some progress in there, and it's kind of fun to hear the teens' ideas about what they want. So
that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
I mean, the number I have my daughter who's almost 13. Well, first of all, the number of times they say the word aesthetic incorrectly, I'm just don't even get me started. Okay, I was like, don't. But the aesthetics matter, so I'm glad to hear that. I'd be curious to hear two things. One is, how does the feedback mechanism work in terms of getting that feedback? I'd like to hear it in terms of, is there a systematic approach, and walk me through what that is. And then my second question, and this is something I raised a while ago, sometimes I feel like in the city, in our programming, there's a feedback loop issue. So we poll the people who are currently using the facility or who go to the classes. And that's good. And I think that's a great beginner. But that leaves out everybody who's not already using it, who's not going to that program. So those teens, like my daughter, who don't regularly go, how are we getting them to participate so that it's a broader Costa Mesa with the idea of increasing involvement, maybe from a more diverse or just different population? I'd be curious to hear a little bit about that.
So our teen program is it's in the process of building back up, and I think it was really special that as a result of the pay increases for the $20 an hour, we also made some part-time specialists full-time. We converted them to a full-time status. We dedicated one to teen programs specifically. Teens is where I started out my career many moons ago. The 6th through 8th grade is my favorite group to work with, because you have some that are still kind of kids and want to do the kid stuff, and some that are just too cool for school now. But you still want to engage them, and they've always, to me, program-wise, been the hardest target audience to engage. And so what we're going to try to do is hit the junior highs and high schools and going on campus, and we don't get a lot into our teen center from those schools. We get a few, transportation, but they may not know that we have these programs and services. So really, we know they're all at school, and so trying to hit them at the schools, like during their lunches. My past experiences, we would bring music and kind of some I guess goodies and swag to those, and really let them know, hey, we have a teen center. What would you want to see at the teen center? And hitting them that way. We know they're there. In the future, we're looking at having some kind of teen town halls, and making it fun, though. Not necessarily something like this where you have to come and sit in an audience and listen to somebody speak.
Not here.
No, but having another factor that makes them want to come. You get a group of friends to come and you say there's going to be pizza. There's certain key words that you can tell teens that will say, like, yeah, I want to come out to that. So that's what we're trying to do. And we just started this process, but teens are something that are near and dear to my heart. And I think you can save a lot of lives too at this age. So I think it's really critical for teen programming, and we're putting a lot of kind of ideas behind those programs. So we're just getting started, but hopefully to see a lot of progress in 2024.
So I love the idea of going to the junior high and high. So will that happen before? I understand, like, there's some basic things, the flooring, all of that. Will that happen before major renovations, or is it going to be an after the fact? Because that's what we're hearing in a lot of the conversations that we've had here, is that public engagement is a bit limited and it's after the fact. So I just want to confirm this will happen before we invest.
I hope for all of this to be ongoing and simultaneous. So I don't want one kind of renovation to deter our engagement or participation in anything. So hopefully that they can be concurrent at the same time. We won't wait to do visiting high schools while that's going on. In fact, it's probably better for us to be doing them at the same time, because saying, hey, we're going through renovations. What do you want to see? We're doing this new teen center. What will make you want to come? So I think it's important to do them simultaneously and concurrently at the same time. So,
If I may add to that, I think what we'll do is develop a communications plan with our teen staff, and we will connect with our school district and go to each of the middle schools and high schools. And I know that we have had opportunities at times to attend some of their events and roll out our team to go out there and really engage with the students and entice them to come and participate, and let them know that we are reimagining the space, and we really want to hear from them. What is it that attract them to come? What is it that they're looking for? They're looking for support in the educational realm, or they want a place to hang out, or are they looking for field trips? Like, what types of programs? Not just the aesthetics of the facility, but those are important. I had previous experience with the library. We did a lot of surveys, and we did the Youth and Government Day. It was a actual council item, so we had a council meeting that they participated and provided feedback, and we really learned from the different ideas that they had, even budgetary. We were very impressed. So I think that there is a lot to gain from our teens in our community, and it's an opportunity to, again, keep them active, keep them engaged, maybe involve them even in some civic, items, bring them to meetings so that they become more informed, more conscious of our facilities, our resources. So there's a lot for us to work in that area, and I believe that is going to be one of the department's goals, to really expand that program and really make an effort to get our teens involved, because that oftentimes is that group that we kind of don't really offer enough programs, right? So we want to make sure that we're capturing that and eventually grooming future, public servants, the next deputy city manager, recreation manager, so really excited to really brainstorm with the team, probably, develop some programming that will help attract more teens to our teen facilities.
Thank you both. I appreciate that.
All right. Any other comments, Vice Chair?
Yeah. First of all, I'm so impressed with the city staff to go from 0 to like 1,000 miles an hour, and to identify what the obstacle was, the barriers, which was staffing, and staffing was pricing. So I really admire the whole team to understand the steps it took, but also to move quick enough to put in place. As someone who put my kids through Camp Costa Mesa, gymnastics, basketball, part of what I'm seeing is a resurgence of families returning into the city, and part of it is the quality of life from the maintenance of the parks and the streets, and feeling that the government cares and the community cares and the city cares, but also how it entices, we always hear how cool our city is for food. I mean, I love it. Everyone always wants to come meet me at lunch at Costa Mesa, and which cool new spot we do that. But part of attracting business is attracting residents. And I can't believe how many families are coming in, and I've had several folks I know call me because their kids want to move into Costa Mesa, because they not only is the schools really engaged, but they're now recognizing how much the city is investing in the infrastructure and the parks and trying to do bikeability. So I want to really mention that. And also I really want to thank the city. You heard our concerns as commissioners about utilizing the green space we have, especially for the open spaced communities we have on the west side. And I really appreciate the negotiations and the collaboration with the Newport Mesa School District, because understanding their concerns for their facilities to be well cared for, but they know that it's better to have after school, and our need that we can't just create infrastructure parks where it doesn't exist. So I just want to thank you that you heard us, and we represented a lot of concerns in our communities as well. The other thing I just wanted, it's so interesting you talked about the car service for our seniors, and how Hogue has grown their program with us, because obviously a lot of seniors need a lot of health appointments. But I heard this great story on NPR, and they did a redo. They are doing how do communities focus with seniors living longer and without cars now, because they're having license issues. And so there was a few communities where they had shared ride services. So the seniors that are retired that could drive, they logged in hours at the senior center. So when it became their time that they needed hours, it was sort of a quid pro quid. But also they realized how much connection and human connection happened. So you had a senior who could drive others to their marketing or their doctor's appointments or go visit people in the community. So I know that there's ever-growing need as we seniors are getting older, and many of us want other options. But I'll send to Alma the NPR story. It was amazing, and they went back 5 years later, and they realized their surrounding communities duplicated that program, and it not only did it create inexpensive free event, and the seniors who drove knew they banked their hours, and that was their way so that they knew that they could have time. And some of them interviewed had short-term needs. You know, they had a knee or a hip replaced on the right side, so they couldn't drive their car for 3 months. So they had that bank to come back. But I just love the connectivity and the really forethought, because again, talking about the community in enveloping and really thinking in terms of who's in our community, how do we serve them, and especially those who have many abilities. I love your passion when you describe this, and I can't wait to go to the next one, because that's also a member of our community and part of our family. So I just want to thank the staff. This was a great report, and I really appreciate everything that's got done to get up to 1,000 miles an hour from 0. So thank you. It took a lot.
Absolutely, Vice Chair. Thank you for those comments. It was definitely not just, back from the pandemic to normal, but it definitely felt like things went to 1,000 this year. So much progress for the city. And, it's hard to put it into words, but I just wanted to express, this opportunity before we get to the next agenda item. The opportunity to serve as chair has just been such an honor, such a learning experience. And I'll always be grateful for this for the rest of my life. So I just wanted to, the passion from this team is very evident. So it's definitely, a highlight of the month to come here and learn from you all and be with you all and to engage in the interim. So I just wanted to say thank you. The meaning and impact of your work is very evident. So I hope you're proud, and I'm excited to see us continue this into the future. But we are going to open this for public comment as well. So if there's any public comments on the 2023 department highlights, now is the time. Are there any public comments on Zoom?
No hands are raised.
All right, we'll close public comments. So yeah, this is our last item of new business, is the election of a new chair, vice chair, and liaison assignment for our Fairview Park liaison. So I'll ask for a motion at this time. Seeing nobody else making a motion, I would like to go ahead and make a motion. Just take the liberty to nominate my friends, Commissioner Vice Chair Dorn Parker as our next chair. And then I'd like to nominate Kelly Dorn Parker as our next vice chair.
Wait, who's Kelly Dorn Parker?
Who's Kelly? Do you mean?
Commissioner Brown is our next vice chair. Yes. We're going to marry the two names.
So before we entertain a motion, we do need to open it up for public comment.
Before we do motions?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's take public comment if there's any public comment. Open, close public comment. All right. Then we're going to entertain the motion for Chair Dorn Parker and Vice Chair Brown. All right. And seconded by Commissioner Wright. Thank you.
All right, we may now do a vote. Motion carries 6-0 to have Chair Dorn Parker and Vice Chair Brown. Congratulations, and thank you, Chair Rutherford, for everything you've been doing.
Well, no, thank you all. It's been a great time. And let's just keep on moving so we can get home tonight.
I would like to add these appointments will take effect at the next meeting, so I just want to make that clear, just because we will need to do some training for you guys.
Awesome. That sounds great. Go ahead, Commissioner Brown.
I just want to weigh in and thank Chair Rutherford for your leadership and your vision over the past year. I think it's really, I've appreciated the tenor of the commission and an insistence on, asking a variety of questions and acknowledging the work that goes on and what's needed. I really have appreciated it. It's reinvigorated, my participation in the commission. I just want to acknowledge that publicly. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. I want to take a photo with you all afterwards, so nobody run away. Let's grab a photo, and I would love to save that for the memory books.
So we have 2 liaisons positions. So I don't know for Fairview Park, so I assume who will be Vice Chair Brown that you would, because that's a certain amount of work. I don't know who would like to be liaison to Fairview Park and then the senior Fairview. So is it something we need to appoint right now, or can you tell me, or whether or not?
So it's really up to your preference of what's needed. You can stay as is, as the current liaison, if you wish, Vice Chair Brown. I don't, sorry.
I don't think we should, I mean, I'll defer to our new vice chair and chair, but I think the current liaisons are quite appropriate, and I don't think we need to make a change at this time.
So for senior liaison, I believe the last person was Commissioner Ashendorf.
We haven't had one.
So we do need to appoint at least a senior liaison. So if we can keep, Commissioner Brown as the liaison for Fairview.
Yeah.
Would you like to continue?
So we can make that in the motion for the one that we do for senior liaison to kind of help alleviate.
Great, that makes sense.
I am open to staying on to Fairview. I am also open to making space for someone else. So, and I think, it meets every other month. It's super interesting. You learn a lot. I think there's a lot of space to contribute. I feel like that. So I'm open, definitely open to staying on. I really do enjoy it. I really am also open to making space for others.
Thank you.
I would support keeping Vice Chair Brown as the Fairview liaison. I do have questions about the senior liaison. Like, what does that entail? Do they have a commission? And we would go to that meeting?
So they do not have a commission. So part of, we used to have a senior commission. And so when that disbanded, one of the requirements was to just have a liaison just to keep up with senior events that have happened. Maybe it's just meeting up with our recreation supervisor and just kind of getting tabs of what's going on or any potential troubleshoots that might be happening. But other than that, it's just more of a basic, maybe attending events. We can let you know. I know Ms. Reyes may have more information on that as well.
Yeah, so I think what this position would do is serve as a connector to the commission. So being able to engage with our senior center, and it doesn't, like, Ms. Fatua has mentioned, there is no monthly meeting. There is, but I know that there are little clubs. Our staff is there. I know that there's opportunity to attend events, volunteer, and just kind of staying abreast with the activities, and being being able to be the conduit between the senior center to the commission and reporting if, regarding the programs and services, and just staying abreast of the activities that are happening at the senior center. So it doesn't require a lot of time.
I think you might be really interested. I think there's some
Somebody's
interest down
pointing
there.
at me, and I have a funny feeling that since I fall into that community.
No.
I think it's.
Oh, no, I'm having fun now. But no, I mean, all things considered, it would be something that I would be willing to take on.
All right, we're going to give you 5 seconds to think about it while we nominate Commissioner Brown to be the Fairview Park Steering Committee liaison. So I don't know if we need to make a new motion for that, but I think it's been
I'll second that.
seconded. All right,
Okay.
that's great.
If you can place that on the dais as well, so the motions and the second.
It's still from our last motion.
Yeah, it's not cleared.
Interesting. Let me see. It should. I can. How about
there you go.
now?
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to make a motion?
Awesome.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded, and we'll call and then.
All right. Motion carried 6-0 to keep Commissioner Brown as the Fairview Park Steering Committee Liaison.
Great. And then we will move to appoint Commissioner Wall as the senior liaison, if there's a second to that.
Yes, second, but we need to, it's not cleared.
It's okay. I think the system's just taking a minute to accept the.
It's rebooting.
May place your motions. Motion carries 6-0 to have Commissioner Wall as the senior liaison. Congratulations for the both of you.
Great. Congratulations, everybody. And then let's keep on moving so we can grab a photo and get out of here. But no, actually, the park ranger report, director's report are important. If there's, Ms. Reyes, if there's any comments you'd like to make on the park ranger report, we'll turn it over to you.
I don't have any comments.
Great. Seeing no comments from staff on the park ranger report, any commissioner comments or questions?
Sorry, I do. Just wanted to, I thought it was interesting that the Harper Park incidents have gone down. But I was wondering, like, is there sort of an end in sight of when we're trying to phase out this solution?
Yes, it's something that we're monitoring. We're hoping that with the presence of the park ranger is more of an educational, period that we have. I mean, we're looking at it in the next 6 months. Of course, we don't intend on having a permanent park ranger. It just depending on the activity that we have at the park. So we're tracking it. We're meeting with the school district staff. So our intent would be that, in the next 6 months, we would revisit that.
Awesome. We'll open park ranger report up. If there's any public comments on the park ranger report, now would be the time. Awesome. Nobody in the chamber, nobody on Zoom. We will close public comments, receive and file the report, and then move on to the director's report. Monique and Alma, we'll turn it over to you both.
So I think you've heard a lot about the successes of this department. I'm very proud in the last 6 months of all that they have accomplished. And I'm also been very fortunate to serve alongside you. So I want to thank you for your support and for the communication and really providing your input. I'm really happy to see how passionate you are about the community. So we're very grateful to have a commission like you, and also to Monique, Laura, and the rest of our team. I couldn't be more grateful for all the work that is done, and even under transition periods. So very grateful, and I know that we have a lot of work for 2024. Looking forward to that. So I'll end it with that, and I'll turn it over to Monique. I'm sure she has some events that she wants to invite you all.
So events was one of the things I left out of the year-end report. Those are special in nature. We haven't seen each other in a long time, so if I go back all the way to Scarecrow Festival, that was a big hit, over 4,000 people. We moved on to Snoopy House. I think we had over 8,000 probably attendance. Our events have been great. The team has been great. We also, maybe I would like to bring her here. She's in the city manager's department, but her name is Francine Jimenez. She does a lot of co-coordinating with our department for events, and she's one that doesn't get recognized enough, I think, with the events because we talk about it a lot here in our commission. I wanted to just share, and I hope to have maybe at the next meeting more information, but we've been doing this special project at our events that we hope to incorporate from here on out, where people start to know that we bring a water service to all of our events, starting with, I think Springfest, Scarecrow Fest, Snoopy House. We had a water station that uses the city's potable water, chills it, and you can bring your own water bottle instead of us handing out water bottles in plastic, and I think we touched on that a little bit. But we've been using this service called Wallop Water, but hopefully in the future we can invest in our own machine and we will be bringing this out. So this is one of the, I think, special initiatives for our special events that we've been doing. So if you come out to one of our special events, bring your water bottle, and we get actually certificates that says exactly how many water bottles we saved from the ocean, in addition to, when you do that, you also, there's other resources that you're saving in the planet from making the water bottles. So it's very unique. I'm glad we did it. I know the fairgrounds did it for the OC Fair this last summer, and it kind of sparked our interest in doing it for some of our events. And so it's just been a really big hit, and we hope that this continues forward in our city, and this is a trend in the sustainability/event world. So just look out for the water stations at some of our special events. And then just to end on, we have our next adaptive dance on Friday, February 9th at the Senior Center. It's called the Friendship Dance. Please stop by if you want any more information. These are very special to attend and just to see participating and get out there and dance and move your feet. It's very fun. So with that, I'll end it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Alma and Monique. Quickly open it for public comments. If there's any public comments on the director's report. Seeing none in the chambers. Anybody on Zoom? All right, we'll close public comments for the director's report. Any commissioner questions, comments? Commissioner Wright.
Yeah, I just have I would love to request that we include the capital improvement table chart that we got this in our email, just to make it easier for the public to access it as well. And even though it's kind of hard to be a normal person and know how to find an agenda, I know there are people that check it, and even if it says like tentative or, you know, a range of time, I think that's really helpful. So yeah, I think that's my only request for today. Thanks.
Great, well, thank you. We will receive and file the report, so thank you. And that brings us to the end of the agenda. So seeing no other comments, questions, concerns, we are going to adjourn until our next meeting on Thursday, February 8th, 2024. Until the next episode, thank you all.